I want to talk today about starting and making just focusing on starting things your primary objective. This focus on starting is an alternative to making big elaborate plans for yourself, action plans. Because typically when we're making these big plans, I call it in my book the good intentions plan to start taking action on things. Well, the reason we're trying to make these big plans is that we are usually very much focused on finishing things. How am I going to get things finished? And if that is the focus, then yeah, you do need a big plan. But if you can realize the transformative power, and I mean that sincerely, of only committing to focusing on starting things, you actually don't even need big plans to get things done. Focusing on starting is one of the things that's not talked about nearly enough, and it is so powerful, so liberating. Makes life very, very simple. So we might have 5 things we want to get done that day. The truth is they're only ever going to get done one thing at a time. So trying to make this perfect plan for how it's all going to get done, how it's all going to get completed is very overwhelming, and it doesn't guarantee that you're going to do anything. But if you focus on, where do I start here? Now you can have priorities about where you start, sure. But if your focus is on, okay, here I am right now, when do I start? And you make a decision about, okay, that's when I'm going to begin. Very simple. But there's a great deal of resistance we have to committing to saying, when will I begin? When am I going to actually start this? And that is because of, in the past, we would have made similar promises to ourselves and reneged on them or failed to follow through. And that creates this sense of disappointment, or a sense that I can't rely on myself to do it. So we know at some point we're going to have to start, but there's this hesitation to move into, I'm to make a commitment to, when am I going to begin this thing? Because we don't trust ourselves after the previous instances of undermining ourselves with those. So I talk about in other places, what do you do if you don't show up for yourself? And what I suggest people do is that they just say, I'm done with that thing for today. I didn't show up when I said I would. And that actually teaches you to take yourself seriously and set in those start times. But the main point I want to focus on here today is just the act of the strategy of starting. When will I begin? And I've told this to many people. Always know when your next start time is. Okay, so it doesn't matter how many things you have to do that day, even if it's just one thing or several things. You make a commitment to start the thing, you show up and you start it, and you'll do a certain amount of work. It should be a small amount of work. You commit to small, doable tasks. And once you've got that thing finished, when's my next start time? And you just go about that your whole day, making constant commitments to starting. And one of the problems can be that, let's say we wake up in the morning and we have a lot of things to do. We will have this sense of, oh God, I don't feel good right now. I'm not feeling it today. I'm so unmotivated and I just don't feel good at all. And we tell ourselves, well, hopefully what will happen is maybe later I'll feel better. Maybe I'll feel more like doing it later on. So we wait until the start time sort of finds us. And while that's understandable, it actually tends to make a sort of a torturous situation where you kind of know this thing is lingering in the back of your mind about you needing to do it or whatever, but you don't know exactly when you're going to do it, and you're hoping that this thing called motivation will fall out of the sky and find you. And that's kind of torturous, actually. So what I tell people is, okay, you make a commitment to starting, right? So when you're maybe beginning your day, you're there thinking, okay, the first thing you need to do is, when will I start? And it's not about forcing yourself or rushing yourself or requiring that you do huge amounts of work and push yourself. In fact, it can be the opposite of that. I tell people, don't rush yourself at all. Just commit to a start time. It doesn't necessarily mean when it is, but as long as it's deliberate and you have sort of actively participated in determining and being very decisive about when it's going to be, that's the main thing. So what you would do is if you woke up in the morning and you didn't feel good, you'd say, okay, I don't feel particularly good. I'm going to start a little bit later today, but I'm going to start then. So maybe it's 8 a.m. You'd normally start at 9 o'clock. You might say, I'm going to start at 10. But you have committed to a start time. You would show up for yourself at 10 o'clock. You'd do it. Okay, what now? I need another start time. When am I going to begin? And you just keep continually going through your day, making these decisions to starting. Only focusing on starting. It's the only thing you're thinking about. You're not thinking about a big elaborate plan. You're not thinking about finishing anything. Finishing happens all by itself. You don't have to worry about finishing anything. All you have to do, all your power is rooted in the decision to start. Starting is much more helpful than planning. Okay? And you will be amazed at how little interest you develop in having plans for yourself once you can start this strategy, focusing on starting. It's so effective, and it's very liberating. You can have priorities in your day. It's like a list of things. Okay, I'm going to start here, and then I'm going to go down, and maybe they'll be the most important or the most meaningful things for you. And you just keep going down that list of things. Sometimes you won't even need a list of things, but the big problem is that you make these big elaborate plans to do everything, to finish things. So only focus on starting things, and it creates an awful lot of space for you mentally when you're not carrying this emotional load or the psychological load of a mountain of tasks that need to be done. You commit to starting, you focus only doing one thing at a time, because that's how everything gets done. Everything you've ever done in your life got done by you doing one thing at a time. There's no way you can work around that. That's a metaphysical truth. Multitasking doesn't exist, by the way. It's a myth. There's no such thing as multitasking. People cannot do two things simultaneously. People do one thing at a time. So, and again, I always state in these videos, you only commit to doing small things, right? Especially if you have an issue with procrastination or chronic procrastination. Really, you do not want to be asking yourself to do these huge work sessions or committing to doing gargantuan tasks on a daily basis. Instead, just focus on starting and doing small things, and just watch what happens. Watch what tends to just get finished, strangely. And if you find your mind wandering into, when will I get this done? How long is this going to take? Just notice that path will lead you nowhere. Starting is where all your personal power is in this. So try that out maybe this week. Find a day when you say, all I'm going to focus on today is starting things. When do I start? Okay, that's my time. I'm going to start. And watch how easy your day will be, as opposed to focusing on finishing things. Hope that's useful, and thanks for being with me, and I will see you again very soon. Bye for now.